my name is Monique Bird, and I am the Director of Marketing and Communications here. And so any kind of epic fails that have happened or will happen on this Zoom call, feel free to blame me for those. I'm always okay to take the blame, especially when it's actually my fault. So I do apologize. But like I said, Monique, Director of Marketing and Communications. We're here tonight to talk about our Master of Education in Special Education. This is a really unique program and a really special program. I've been here for about 3 months, and this is already one of my favorite programs. And we're going to have a couple of people talk to you today, just a little bit more about that program. We're going to start with Dr. Bree Jimenez. She is the program director for her. And I've actually got her bio with me. And as you can see, it's kind of blurred out because of the way I have my screen, but it's actually a pretty extensive bio. And that's just the shortened one. I'm not going to read it verbatim, but just know that she has immense expertise in this field. She's been in this field as a researcher and educator for well over 20 years. And she's just such a wealth of knowledge. Every time I talk to her, I learn so much. And we're so very grateful at UTA to have her here leading this program as program director. And so with that, we are going to go ahead and let Dr. Jimenez start off by just telling us a little bit about, what might interest you in a career in special education.
Okay, great. So obviously, one of the big things you probably hear quite often is that the demand for special education is high for various reasons. And one of them is that we are doing a better job at identifying students who need additional supports in our schools, which means that we need more and more trained individuals to be able to support those students and support the programs that are going on in schools. And so, across the nation, we keep hearing that the job openings are high in special education. So, it's kind of one of those things that if your heart's in the right place and you really want to be here because you want to serve and really be there for students with disabilities, the jobs are going to be plentiful. And, I guess the good thing is that means that there are jobs here, right here in our local ISDs. There are jobs across the state, and there are jobs nationally. And those shortages will not be going away. So because we keep doing a better job at, recognizing the supports kids needs. So, one of the things is to think about, that this is a commitment to a lifelong opportunity to be able to be a support within schools. And another thing is that often and locally, there are incentives to going into special education because it is a high needs area. So often there's an incentive in your salary of a little bit of a salary boost as well on top of the initial starting teacher salary. Or maybe you're already a teacher and you're interested in moving into special education, and there's special ed incentives. So our special education master's program have been developed to serve a wide range of students for the needs that are out there in our state and in our local area, and honestly, nationally. And so we have 2 different program options. One of those options is a master's in special education. It's just the graduate degree. And this is really for people who already have a bachelor's degree and are just seeking the master's. So for example, it could be somebody who already has an initial teaching license and they're already teaching, and maybe in special ed, or maybe in elementary ed, or secondary education, or music education. It could be anything. And they're just interested in gaining the skills and expertise to come back and get that graduate degree, going a little bit deeper into what does it mean to be a special educator, serving specific groups of students, or adding that on to their already acquired teaching license. Another thing, though, is that it could be that somebody's interested in getting a master's in special education to gain the expertise of working with individuals with disabilities, but they're not really interested in the teaching license at all. As you know, individuals with disabilities, and there's a lot of community supports, there's other things that somebody might be gaining that information for. So we do have our master's in special ed with the degree only. We also have the master's in special education with a certificate, with their initial teacher license. And so these are for, this master's is for people who are interested in special education and are interested in becoming an educator. They are not already a licensed educator and they want to become licensed in special education, but they already have a bachelor's degree. So it could be anything. It could be a bachelor's degree in related service areas, such as maybe speech therapy, communicative disorders. But there could also be somebody who might have, have a degree in business, advertising, and are interested and have that calling to really come back and serve our schools in supporting students with disabilities. So our Master's of Special Education, one of the things we wanted to make sure is that we were really, we want to make sure that we are really pulling in the people who are interested in special education. And we recognize that many people who are interested in a graduate degree would be interested in an online program. Within our online program, we are 100% online. Meaning that you would not need to come to campus for any of your coursework. If you are interested, though, in the initial certification, that comes with field placements where you're out in the fields and you're working with students. So there's a little bit of, the need to be able to go into schools where it's not just that if you're looking to become an initial teacher, we can look at that and how those things work. This is also, the Master's of Education is perfect for educators who are already in the field, as I mentioned before, and really want to gain that expertise and that depth in their practice. One thing to consider, if you are already interested, if you're already a licensed teacher or you're a general educator, the Master's of Special Education is really wonderful to add on, whether or not you want to become a special educator or you want to remain as a general educator. You're adding that license on, which is only deepening your expertise to serve all the students that you have the opportunity to support throughout their school time. We do offer financial aid. We have teach grants. There are federal support programs that you can apply for if you're interested in looking for financial support.
And Dr. Jimenez, I had a question from a student who wasn't able to make the info session tonight, but just wondering, they are going to try to watch the recording later. The different tracks, do you mind elaborating on that?
Yeah, so in our Master's of Education, not looking for initial certification, but just the graduate degree itself, what we've done is develop 3 tracks that students can actually go down. So think of those as paths. There are a core set of courses that you take around special education and graduate research and interpreting research and how to bring that into the classroom. But then there are specialty areas. So within those areas, one is called applied. And the applied is really your just your K-12 special education. And so it's going to look at special education across the grade bands and across disabilities. We also have another track, which is called high incidence. And then we have another one called low incidence. And so high incidence and low incidence are the incidence of how often that disability category occurs, let's say within special education. So high incidence is usually it's going to focus even more in depth around students with learning disabilities and potentially students with like behavioral disabilities. But then the low incidence is going to look at students who have more moderate and severe intellectual disabilities. Maybe students with autism would be within that low incidence. And so when you apply to the Master's of Special Education, you are joining into that group. But the cool thing is that you can actually individualize your master's program to fit your specific needs, where your interests are or where your prior knowledge already is and where you're trying to build. So rather than just coming into a generic Master's of Special Education where everybody is doing the same thing, this allows you to really look at what am I interested in and where do I want to build my particular skills, whether it is across the grade bands in all of K-12, high incidence, or low incidence. With our certification program, it is online. And as I mentioned, We do have field placements that are in person with real teachers out in the field. And so this is really important as you're building your skills in initial to become an initially certified teacher, that we wanted to make sure that this is a really hands-on program and you're having an opportunity to be with students and schools. And we will work with you to, if you're in the local area, we'll work with you to get you placed and find those locations for you. But we also accept students across the entire state. You do not have to be in the Arlington area to get your initial certification. We will work with you to help you make those connections with your local schools. If you're somewhere else like Houston or San Antonio or Austin, we'll work with you. We also have a really cool program currently going on that is a federally funded program called Match Made in Schools. And so Match Made in Schools is a unique grant funded through the Office of Special Education Programs. And within this office, we have federal funds to support you if you qualify for this program. We are looking at paying your tuition and fees for 1 full year for you to become an initially certified teacher. In order to do this, you do have to live in the DFW area to be able to come in, because this program does have 200 hours of apprenticeship experiences within social work and special education as a partnership, building those supports within schools. Like I said, it's federally funded, and within that, you're looking at a cohort model that you would go through this program. Match Made in Schools is a wonderful opportunity for those people who are interested in master's in special education with initial certification. If you are, there's a little bit more you do, but gosh, to have a fully funded master's program in wonderful experiences that are outlined throughout this grant are totally worth it, and a wonderful opportunity. We have a couple more years of funding, so we are interested in bringing in our next cohort this coming spring.
You know, I get a lot of questions from students about the certification process and specifically the student teaching. We think of it as student teaching, but I think it's officially called
clinical
field placements. And they always want to know, like, what does that involve? What are they going to experience in their clinical, the field placements?
Yeah. So what we've done is designed it so that our students have opportunities to work with early childhood, elementary, middle, and high school across their program. Because essentially the license is an EC12, early childhood 12 special ed license. And so what will happen is throughout the beginning of the program, students come in and they have experiences to just observe and get to see what's going on in classrooms. And little by little throughout their program, each semester, each course, they kind of get a little bit deeper and deeper into the classroom and starting to have an opportunity to run a lesson or run an activity or plan, an activity, to observe an ARD meeting, ARD IEP meeting, to be able to work with teachers and start to see what's going on in the planning process. And then eventually in their clinical teaching, it is the last semester, it is full-time clinical teaching to become a licensed teacher. And so it's 5 days a week in the classroom with a cooperating teacher who is there to support you to gain those skills throughout the semester. And so that's a really, it can be scary, but it's such an exciting time because you think, wow, I'm getting this opportunity to be supported while I'm gaining my skills. And so when I come into the classroom that first day as a licensed teacher, it's really not your first day, because you were a clinical teacher in which you started to build those skills with the support of your university professors and your cooperating teacher and your supervisor who's out there supporting you along the way. And so it's an exciting time of gaining those skills and practicing with support. So what you can expect, it is a 1 year. So our master's programs are designed that a student can complete them in 1 year, but they don't have to. Again, the individualization is there to where, depending on what you're looking for, depending on what track, depending on what works for you in your schedule. You could complete our master's programs in 1 year online. However, you could, complete it in a year and a half or 2 years. It's up to you as a student to work with your advisor to determine what works best for you and what pace are you interested in going through. Like I said, our courses are online. And our professors are always here, even though it's online. We're here to work with you. We're here to individualize and help make those connections with you. So it's not just like you're logging in and you're never seeing anyone or never talking to anyone. That's up to you as the student. And your professors will have opportunities to absolutely meet with them along the way as well.
And I just want to chime in, even though I'm new, I've definitely witnessed that myself. Dr. Jimenez's office is just a little bit ways from mine. And even over the summer, they held a special event for students in the program who wanted to learn a little bit more. And this was not something that students had to, pay extra for. It was volunteer. Nobody was required to come. But it's like, that's the type of thing that you get from the faculty here, is that they really care about students and they're invested in your future, and they're invested in making sure that you have everything that you need to succeed, first as a student, but then also as a practitioner when you go off in the world. We are going to transition a little bit to Ted. He's going to talk a little bit more just about UTA in general and kind of the College of Education in general. And like I've said this before, but if you do have any questions about anything Dr. Jimenez said earlier, please put those in the chat and we will get to those towards the end.
Okay. Can everybody hear me? I'm kind of messing with this a little bit. Okay, good. Okay. The big things here, again, Dr. Jimenez said the program classes are 100% online, and the certification requires the in-person field replacement. That's 30 credit hours. We already went over that. UTA, the big thing is it's a Texas Tier 1 institution. It's an R1 tier institution. It's also a Carnegie Tier 1 university. All those are very high level research facilities. So you're getting the best of the best education here. It's affordably priced both in-state and out of state for both in-state and out-of-state students. That's also a big thing too, because if you're like me, who funded my own master's and now doctorate degrees, you want the affordability, because it's not easy to go into a huge amount of debt over it. The dedicated faculty and mentorship opportunities. Besides the dedicated faculty and mentorship, you also have recruiters, Monique. All of us are here to support you. That's the bar none. We are all here to support you. So you can come get us at any time, ring us, and we will be there with bells on. The specialized expertise in advanced career opportunities. Sorry, I was reading the chat too. Specialized expertise in advanced career opportunities. That's a big thing. I mean, you're coming to get an advanced degree because you want to forward your education, but also because you want to advance your career and your professional roles. So having those opportunities there, that's a big plus. We're not just giving you a degree and being like, pin $20 to you, go out there in the world and have fun. We're giving you those opportunities. We're giving you that networking. Next slide. Now, here's what we're looking at: the student cost. These are approximate costs based on their estimate created on the part-time U.S. resident. So that's 6 hours for a master's in education. To tell you the truth, most people that are working nowadays don't go over 6 hours in a semester, because that would be a lot of work. For the Texas resident, it's about $3,300, and for the non-resident, $3,500. That's very affordable per semester. You're getting a world-class education for, bargain prices. Next slide.
And I just want to chime in when Ted is saying bargain prices. If you go to the UTA website, there's this really cool tool that I love for 95% of the students. It's called a tuition calculator. I've been in higher education for 15 years and I've never seen a school that had a better calculator. And what it does is it allows you to plug in the program, or at least the college that you're pursuing, thinking about getting a degree in, and then the amount of hours. And then you can plug that in and actually see an estimate of your costs. And it's usually pretty spot on by about a few $100s, give or take, just depending on your individual circumstances as a student. This is discounted from that. And so because these programs are online programs, they have some built-in discounts. And so if you do see that, it's a wonderful tool and it applies for most of our programs, but just know that this is going to be more than most likely a little bit different. And even then, the reason we don't give you an exact price, because there could be different things just based on your individual circumstance that might, give you some different fees, but that is a pretty good estimation of what we had on the previous slide. And so sorry to interrupt, Ted. I just wanted to interject and throw that in there in case anybody had looked at the tuition estimator.
No, that's a great point. I always forget about the tuition estimator because I didn't have that when I went through.
Ted is an alum.
Yeah, I'm an alum of here, and currently I'm in graduate school again. But I mean, that is a great tool to have, and I wish I would have had it back in the days because I was finishing up a degree as an adult, and it would have really helped. On this slide, we're looking at our times to apply for the fall semester. We're already past that, so it'll be next fall, will be July 1st. For the spring semester, that's a big one. Applying by November 1st, October 24th for the project. And for summer, and we'll apply by April. It's going to apply by April 1st. These are all, with the checklist we have laid out, these are all very doable deadlines, even for busy folks like me. And here's the checklist. I thought it was a slide before this. Big thing is right now we're at the apply stage. We're choosing our program tracks. We're applying to UTA at applytexas.org. That's the biggest hurdle because it takes a little while to get through applytexas.org. Pay the application fee and submit official documents and test scores. From there, we're going on to our FAFSA and completing the scholarships. And then for the rest of it, it kind of goes downhill. Us recruiters are here at all times. If you ever get stuck with any of these processes or anything else, we're here to help you out and to help you get through that. And next slide. And that's actually me with in the middle right there. My hair was longer at the time. Sorry, it's a bad joke, but I'm the main recruiter for this. So anything you need, I mean, I'm here day, night. You can wake me up out of a dead sleep if you need to ask me a question. Just shoot me an email. I answer 24 hours a day.
That pretty much concludes it. We've got some contact information for you all here. Like Ted said, that rhymed, but that was not intentional. We are truly happy to help. I'm very honored. I work with an amazing team of individuals, and everyone that I work with either has a graduate degree or is in graduate school. And Ted actually has a few degrees, so he's got extra star points.
I can hand them out to other people.
Yeah. But we believe in higher education, but we also know that sometimes you have questions just along the way, especially if you've had a break in schooling and you're like, oh my goodness, how do I get through this application? Or I'm not sure who to reach out for. We are here to help you with every step of the process. Ted is still pretty new as well. He's actually even newer than I am. But if we do not know the answer, we will hunt it down. We are here to help you and make your lives easier. We know y'all are busy. We know you have things going on. And so if there's anything that we can help you with or answer questions, let us know. We are more than happy to help. And it looks like we had a question in the chat, and it did get answered in the chat, but I'm just going to go ahead and ask it just for the benefit of the recording. It says, do I need at least 2 years of teaching experience before I can start the program? I'm currently in my 2nd year of teaching.
And they answered it very succinctly, or Dr. Jimenez answered it very succinctly right there. No, you don't. And they consider your experience, but you do not have to, the specific requirements don't require it.
So we look at our applicants and we look to see, and of course, having a little bit of teaching experience is really helpful when you're going for a deeper graduate degree. However, teaching experience would not be, we don't have like a cut dry that you have to have this amount of teaching. So absolutely, I would hope that wouldn't deter you from applying to the MED. And I'm assuming since you're already in your second year of teaching, then I think obviously means that you're already a licensed teacher. So the Masters of Education in Special Ed would be the track you would be looking at regarding either the applied, high incidence, or low incidence. With that note, the low incidence is expected to begin in fall of 22. So right now we'd be able to look at applications for the applied or the high incidence.
And I did have a question come to me personally. What is the certification process like, and the exams and all of that?
Okay, so that is all run through TEA, through the Department of Education. So that is not, we will help facilitate that. So there are requirements by TEA to become certified, such as your field placement hours. And there are also something called Certified Teacher, which is a portal, let's say, in which you, through your coursework, will practice taking your tests, your exams. And once you have passed those exams with, I think it's an 85% or higher, your practice exams, you submit those to our person within the College of Education, and they are able to go into the system and approve you to register to take your tests. And so you would need to take your special education test and I believe your science reading test. And once you do that, then you're doing that with TEA, and you hopefully pass your exams, which you should because you've already passed your practice. And then it goes through the system and you become certified once you've finished your hours and your degree. So there are exams that you have to take, and those fluctuate in price, but they're like around like $170 for the exams. And those are, you're paying them just like you would if you were going to sit for an SAT or an ACT or a GRE or something like that.
Yeah, and I have one.
But our program prepares you for them. That's the whole point, is we do practice with you.
Yeah, we definitely do. And at the bottom of this contact page, there's actually contact information for Christine Pruitt. She is over, I forget the official name, but I believe it's the Office of Educator Certification or something like that. I'm very close. And so we actually have a dedicated person who is here to help facilitate all of that. And she gets questions all the time. And I know because sometimes they come to the general inbox and I answer those and I just forward those to her. And those are just the questions that come to me. And so I know that she gets questions a lot, and she's such a positive person and always happy to answer those questions. And she gets the gamut, and anything that you might have a question with, even once you've graduated. We get sometimes questions from alumni who are trying to figure out the process. And so anyway, super helpful to know that we've got a resource here available. I do have one other quick question. The certification, is it an early childhood through 6th grade or through 12th grade, or what is that?
It's early childhood through 12th, special education.
Okay.
So the special education licensure exams in the state of Texas are EC-12. So our program is an EC-12 special education program. That's where our curriculum aligns with.
Perfect. Well, I think that is just about it. We are going to probably wrap it up unless there's any more last minute questions. And so if you do have any questions, feel free to put those in the chat. If you think of something after the fact, your best bet is probably going to be to reach out to Ted. We've got his email bolded here in the center. He's a wonderful resource. Obviously, you can reach out to any of us. I'm probably the least helpful person, but I am good at forwarding emails. So you are welcome to dig me up. There's also a general inquiry form link link. We don't have a lot of students use that, but if you want, you're welcome to. It's a good link if you're not sure if this is the program and you want to get information about other programs. That link is good for that. Once you apply, that checklist has your steps. We will add this presentation as well as the recording to the info session page at the bottom. And so give us about a day or so, but it should be there by Monday. And you can actually go and you can actually download that. And you can actually see the checklist that we had a few slides before. I was trying to get back. You can actually see this checklist if you need to just refer back to it. The biggest thing that I find that students sometimes forget is when they've applied, they're maybe forgot to pay the application fee. I want to say it's about $75 for graduate students in the US, and I believe it's $90 for international students. That can change, and so just be aware that's just what I remember from today, but that might be off a little, and it of course could change by any semester, but sometimes students kind of forget to make sure all their documentation and stuff is in there. Once you've applied, you'll be able to access your MyMav account, and you access that through uta.edu/mymav, and this will come to you in email, so you don't have to memorize this. But that's where you're going to be able to check your application status, see if you've been approved. You're going to be able to, apply to the educator preparator program if you need to do that. You're going to be able to look at your financial aid. MyMav is going to have really everything you need as a student, and it's also going to tell you if you're missing any documents. And so if anything is missing, that is the place to check. That way we can make sure we get you processed. And then after that, pretty much your last step, and you are welcome to do this last step a little bit earlier, is to meet with your advisor. The way our college is set up, Berhani is currently our graduate advisor for this program. That may change in the future, but right now she's the advisor. You cannot register and enroll in classes until you've met with her. And so just make sure you set that appointment. You don't have to wait, until you're accepted in the program. If you have questions that you want to ask her, she's more than happy. She's an amazing resource, and we love her dearly. And so you're welcome to reach out to her at any point. But I would at least make sure that you get that appointment before the semester starts so that you can register. So,
yeah, and she'll pass you along to me for advising once you're accepted into the program, but Berhani will be your contact person along the way, especially if you have questions about, once you've applied and you're kind of waiting that back and forth. If there's something, she'll ask you. She'll also reach out to you as well.